When I graduated from high school, my stepfather gave me a book of daily devotions called My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers. And on the inside cover of that book, he inscribed Romans 12, verses 1 through 2. And ever since then, those two verses have been some of my favorite in the Bible because they are about our utter devotion to God. And I'll read those for you now. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Now, some of you might recognize those verses from our commitment cards, this year's pledge card that is part of our annual stewardship campaign. This year, the stewardship campaign is called Renewal. And with that theme in mind, I'd like to take a closer look at Romans 12, verses 1 through 2. So first we have present your bodies as a living sacrifice to God, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. When I became an Episcopalian, I discovered that our Eucharistic prayer refers to these verses. The altar is set with the bread and the wine, which is the fruit of our labor. We also have the collection, the financial offering, right next to that. Indeed, also the fruit of our labor, ready to be blessed. And then we present ourselves with these words. The priest says, "And here we offer and present unto thee, O Lord, ourselves, our souls and bodies, to be a reasonable, holy, and living sacrifice unto thee." Now, whenever I'm the one celebrating the Eucharist, when I said those words, I rest my open palms on the altar on my behalf and yours, this act of self-offering. For we bring our entire selves to the altar in an outpouring of love and commitment to Jesus. We ask him to take all that we are, our giftedness, our brokenness, our desires, our will, our grief, our gratitude. We ask him to take all of it and use it for his glory. So this means that each time we come to the altar, we are renewing our commitment to Christ, and Christ is also renewing his blessing over our lives. And he makes us worthy to stand before him, worthy to receive the Eucharist, worthy of his love. Now let's look at the second verse. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Now we know the world is good. It is part of God's beautiful created order, but we also know it's fallen and it's rife with corruption and greed and obsession over possessions and pleasure and status. But Jesus frees us from that. He frees us from that way of being by calling us to something higher. He calls us to set our minds on heavenly things, not earthly things, so that we might have his mind and our lives might be an extension of his life, and we may discern the will of God, which is good and acceptable and perfect. Discernment is a good word, a churchy word, and a word that I think all Christians should have in their lexicon. It means that we make no decision apart from God. We are constantly discerning God's will to inform the choices we make, big and small, for it is only by doing God's will and living in God's will that we can have a life of meaning and purpose and joy. Now today, I'm asking for your prayerful discernment over one specific aspect of committing your life to Christ. And that is discerning what portion of your income that you will give to your church in the coming year. And when you discern that, to make a pledge to honor it by filling out one of these pledge cards, either at church or mailing it in, or making a pledge online. And these financial commitments are a sign of our gratitude and our love for Christ and his body, the church. And they also become part of our living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is our spiritual worship. When my stepfather inscribed Romans 12, 1-2 in that little devotional book, I think he captured the title perfectly. My utmost for his highest, my best for God's glory. We all want to do our best for God. And we all want to give God our best in every area of our life. So when it comes to supporting Incarnation, thank you for giving your utmost for his highest.